Friends, in the series of the lectures on epidemiology, we have been talking about the essentials, especially last time we described the descriptive epidemiology, and then we had also understood that we need to define the problem or the disease under study, the population in which this particular condition is to be studied, that is also to be defined, and then we should collect the data related to time, place, and person. For time, place, and person, all varieties, seasonal trend, secular trend, we had discussed about that. International, national comparisons, how that can be done, that was also described. Once the data is collected, it is subjected to some inference, generating a hypothesis that yes, this is possibly can be one of the factors contributing to the disease. But then, to be very sure, we need to go for the analytic epidemiology. And in analytic epidemiology, we were thinking that we should have certain criteria which can definitely lead to a conclusion. Say, for example, when we were trying describing something, we were looking to the population. Now, for confirming the role of a factor as a causative factor or as a risk factor, we have to focus on the individual. So between the descriptive epidemiology and analytic epidemiology, this is a major difference. In describing, we are describing the entire population, while analysis is focused on individual. Of course, there are many individuals, but individual will be considered as important factor in the analytic epidemiology. And for that, what we generally do, we are having on one side case. Case means those who are affected or those who are having risk factor or persons who are really infected, something like that is case. And to compare that, these cases are different from the controls who do not have that disease. We will move ahead by defining cases and controls. Why control? Because only in cases we find something that will give no inference. Say out of 35 persons, 6 are sick, but that's not important. Maybe that 6 have particular reason for becoming sick. So we need to compare that similar type of persons were exposed to similar type of the situation, but out of that these 6 have become sick because factor X is responsible for causing the disease in these 6 individuals. That's why the control is very important. And there are two different methods which are very frequently used. One is case control and second is cohort. Case control study, as the name suggests, uses the cases and controls. Another study is known as cohort study or longitudinal study. The main difference, my dear friends, has to be kept in mind. In case control, we start the entire study with the cases, the person who is diseased, and then we compare him with such individuals who do not have a disease. Suppose there are 30 individuals with cancer, mouth, oral cavity cancer, and there are 30 individuals who do not have oral cavity cancer. Now, from that cancer cases, we take all the history, age, sex, this, that, what were the habits, etc., etc., and in remaining controls, 30 controls maybe, we also take the similar history. So from the cases and controls, where we go from that particular point of that, how many of the cases were exposed to tobacco chewing and how many were not exposed to tobacco chewing. And out of the controls, that means who do not have oral cancer, how many were tobacco chewing and how many were not tobacco chewing. Can you follow me? We select a population. Out of population we select two groups. One is known as cases having a disease and another the similar type of persons but not having that particular disease. In all other criteria they may be same. That's why the comparability. So cases versus control. Now in cases we start asking for everything in details. Age, sex, marital status, education, etc. Including habit for tobacco chewing, habit for others, say habit for early morning waking up, habit for late night waking up, habit for television viewing, whatever we think that may be important in the case of the study. But then we find that how many of them were having exposure to tobacco, especially chewing tobacco. Similarly, in controls, we also try to find how many are having exposure to chewing tobacco. So essentially, we start with the cases and their controls. In cohort, the things reverse. In cohort, we start with the people. People. Now, try to remember that these people are out of that there are two types of people who are exposed. Those who were tobacco chewing. See, now we have not selected oral cancer. Those who are tobacco chewing and those who are not tobacco chewing. And we follow them up for quite a long time, say 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Out of those tobacco chewing, how many turn out to be the cases of oral cancer? Got the point? And how many yet do not have the oral cancer? Similarly, those who are not tobacco chewing, how many have turned out to be oral cancer? And how many did not? In case control, we started with the actual cases. In cohort, we started with actual possibility of the exposure and non-exposure. These were exposed but may not turn out to be the cases. That study is more important for finding out the etiology, but it is a long time and time consuming. The case control study is easily done because cases are already available in the hospital and we study retrospectively. So that name is also given, retrospective study or case control study. So if we tell them retrospective, what will be the name for the cohort? Prospective study. We look forward that we have identified the people with the exposure. We are looking forward and how many of them turn out to be the cases. Now today let us focus on the retrospective study or the case control study. One thing is this is a very common study and always in the series of the studies this will be the first one because it is easier, the cases are easily identifiable and we go for the causal analysis. It leads to causal analysis and we are testing here. Say in the descriptive epidemiology, we were generating the hypothesis. Here we are testing the hypothesis. Whatever the hypothesis is, now it is being tested, confirmed, how to do that. And for that, the first thing is, in case control study, there is exposure as well as occurrence because they have become cases. And this is before study. When we start study, some of them are already affected with oral cancer and we take them as cases. So it starts with that. So other way, it is from the effect to the cause. They have already been affected. We are moving backwards to the cause. That what was the cause that led them to the carcinoma of the oral mucosa, something like that. Now, control is required for giving a validity to the observation. That yes, you have observed only in the tobacco chewing persons. But if you say that tobacco non-chewing persons, then also there may be cancers. So we take control people. And control is very important to see that, okay, cases we are easily identifying because they are individuals and not the groups. Now, here we are focusing on the problem. When we say oral mucosa cancer, it's not only that. Suppose there is some situation, say perhaps we find that persons not working in a given setup. So we take all those persons who are absolutely lethargic. They will be cases for us. And then go backwards that what was their history, what was their education, etc. etc. My dear friends, epidemiology is not only for the diseases, it may be for the health conditions also. But doing so, we need to compare it. And comparison provides more validity to your observations. And when we compare, we should see that the comparable groups are the similar type. Suppose in one group there are many old persons and another group there are very many young persons. There may be difference because of the age itself. In one group there are only say industrial workers, another group there were more office goers. The difference may be because of that. So we need to control all the factors which are likely to contribute to the disease except the factor which we are studying. For example, in oral mucosa cancer, we are studying the tobacco chewing. So we will not control them for the tobacco chewing, but we will control them for age, for sex, for their marital status, for their occupation, for the residence, all other factors. Because these factors may not be contributing to the disease, that has to be proved. But the factor which is already alleged, factor which is targeted, like say tobacco chewing, that will not be controlled. In the other group, there may be persons chewing tobacco, not chewing tobacco, whatsoever it is. We are not looking for that. So essentially, this will be a design. Now, this design you can create a picture in front of you. There is a four squares, two rows, and now divided by the two columns. So four squares. चार हो गए houses. These चार houses A, B, C, D. Now I will say that A and B, that is in the first row, two houses. This may be titled as those who are having the chewing as a habit. That is a risk factor. So chewing as a habit in A and B. Now why A and B? A is chewing as a habit but does not have a disease, has a disease. So A has a habit of chewing, has tobacco related cancer. So oral mucosa cancer and tobacco chewing, A. Now there is no oral mucosa cancer and tobacco chewing, that is B. Now the second row, we will find that there is habit of tobacco chewing, not having the tobacco chewing, but there is cancer. And not having the tobacco chewing and not having the cancer, A, B, C, D. So A essentially is made up of the people who are having the risk factor and the disease. Clear? B, having the risk factor, does not have the disease. C, does not have the risk factor but has a disease. D, neither has a risk factor nor has a disease. A, B, C, D. Now, naturally, if you will add A and C, these will be the people who are diseased. If you add B and D, these will be the people who are non-diseased. If you add A and B, these persons will have the risk factors. And if you add C plus D, these people will not have the risk factors. This gives an idea that out of a given category, how many persons are actually having the risk factor and disease, or having the risk factor but not having the disease, or not having the risk factor but have a disease, and not having the risk factor, not having the disease. As simple as that, no? So A, B, C, D, this is known as 2 by 2 table, which is always essential to find out the relationship between the risk versus the disease. Say, many persons say, we can compare it. Immunized children had more measles or non-immunized children had more. Similar type of A, B, C, D. But in that case, children have to be compared with the children. Children have to be from the same locality. Children have to be known to each other, not a different category of this different age groups, same sex, or something like that. All other factors except immunization should be matched. Is it clear? Once we match it, and this type of study, case control study, has been used in almost all chronic conditions, cancers, cardiac conditions, diabetes mellitus, and we have found a lot in these studies. Based on that, say we need to decide some steps how to conduct a case control study, and I will go one by one. So first we have to select the cases. Now selection of the cases might not be haphazard. Suppose I am selecting the cancer of the oral mucosa, then I need to understand what particular histological picture should I have. Is it stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, whatever is the pathological stages. Once we decide that yes, stage 1, initial stage 1, then we take only those cases who are in the oral mucosa cancer stage 1. Define, because we need to be very sure that what we are actually observing. Second, suppose we define the case according to the diagnostic criteria by WHO or by a prominent body of that particular disease experts, then it's fine. The second criteria will be eligibility criteria. Whether we want to take only new cases which come during next 1 month or 5 months, depending upon the occurrence of the disease. If the occurrence is very frequent, we may take only 1 month or 6 months. but occurrence is very rare, then it may be for 1 year, 2 year or so. But are we taking only incident, or are we taking prevalence? Are we taking new cases, or are we taking old cases? Remember, diagnostic criteria has to be adhered for selection of the cases. Number two, once we select the diagnostic criteria based cases, they must be having eligibility criteria. Who is to be taken with the same diagnostic, new cases or old cases? And then we should identify from where we will take the cases. We generally take the cases from the hospitals, whether one hospital or several hospitals, different hospitals, to identify the cases. Anyway, whatever you take, but please assure that your diagnostic criteria and eligibility criteria are matched with. You can take the cases from the population also, but then in population you should have better a random selection, randomized selection, or you may take an entire series. Suppose I am taking hospital cases, I will take any case of that particular diagnostic criteria coming from, say, May to December. Fine, I will take all those cases. Or I may take each third case. If the cases are many, then out of each cases, first, second, and third case is selected, four, five, six cases selected, and so on. I may select the numbers which I want for the study. The numbers are usually decided because of the statistical methodology. If the disease is very rare, naturally the numbers will be less. If the disease is very frequent, the numbers will be more, so that we have some better idea. Now, once we have decided the cases, we need to decide about the controls. Who should be the controls? Must be free from that particular disease. They must not have oral mucosa cancer. That's very obvious. They should be the persons. Ideally speaking, all those persons who have reached to the same stage, the same age, same sex, same locality, same occupation, same marital status, and not having only oral mucosa cancer, these are the best controls. But such matching is very difficult. We may have to compromise into certain issues which are not much relevant. But as far as the relevance is concerned, we need to be very careful that we do not select controls where by chance the oral mucosa cancer is otherwise also happening. Let me tell you one example. Suppose I select a case of, I have a study of esophagus cancer, and I am trying to identify the role of alcohol. Now, in the controls, I have taken several persons who are not, maybe not having alcohol, but they take smoking, cigarette smoking. Now, cigarette smoking can also lead to esophageal carcinoma. That's why I should be aware of that. Okay, whatever I want to find because of the alcohol related esophageal carcinoma, this may have been caused by smoking. So that will meddle with the picture actually, which we try to find out. That's why all such possibilities are to be removed. All those factors which are likely to be contributing to, but we want to match, are known as confounding factors. CONFOUNDING, confounding factors. And that's very important. How to find these controls? Either we find from the same hospital the persons with other disease, but of the same age, sex, etc. But there again, we will have to say that that particular disease, other disease, should not be contributing to this disease. Say myocardial infarction. Now that person may have something which is common and may lead to the carcinoma. And that's why we need to be very careful, whatever it is. We may have the controls from the relatives, but again, relative, we cannot go for the siblings because there may be this genetic factor which may be common in two individuals. So avoiding that, say ultimately we try to find out a pure scientific conclusion. Either we take from hospital, from relatives, from neighbors, from community, general public, but the we have to take that persons without that particular disease condition in study and match for all other confounding factors which are likely to contribute as a bias. The bias should not be entered into the study. Once we have done that, say, then relatives are to be specifically for the sibling, I have already told you. But how many controls should we take? Suppose there are a large number of the cases and controls are available. We might match one case and one control. That's fine. But suppose the cases are very few, rare carcinoma. Then it may happen that we take one case and take 2, 3 controls against that. And 2 3 controls may also be taken from different places or different categories, relatives or neighbors, and then general public, so that the comparison will be far better. If against one case there are more controls, it is better. If there are no more controls and one case, one control, that's also fine. But then matching is a must. Once we do that matching, say again, it has been written that suspected variable, for example, in our case, which we are talking about, tobacco chewing is not to be matched. Suppose you match that, then the same series will be there in control and case. That's why we do not match for that. It may be present, it may not be present in the controls. But in cases, the carcinoma of the oral mucosa is a must. Now, there may be group matching. Group matching means you take randomly large number of strata, say you match age wise, say there are 20 people in the age group of 20 to 40, take them in the controlled as well as cases. You may match them by social status or educational status. So matching may be strata wise, but then all again that will be very difficult. Sooner or later, one may have to compromise for the controls, but as many variables as possible in the confounding variables must be matched. That's the point. And last but not the least, okay, you did it. You took all the observations in both cases and controls. You took the detailed history of the cases, detailed history of the controls, and you have enough data now. What will you do? Naturally, once data is there, you need to measure them. And measurement of the exposure. Suppose whenever the tobacco chewing comes in the case or control, you will ask many questions. How much tobacco? How frequently? Since how long? How many times? And so on. Because that's what we want to study, isn't it? So measurement of the exposure, that criteria has to be defined. And that should be focused upon. Since how long, how much, how frequently, etc. etc. And once it is done, we will try to analyze into two major issues. One is the what is the exposure rate, how frequently, how much, how long the exposure in case or control has taken place. And second, what is the risk of that disease? While he takes tobacco, what is the risk in that particular individual only because of the tobacco chewing? And that is known as the risk related to that condition. This can be identified in the case control study. But for that calculation, we will wait for the next session, and till that time, bye.